everybody, this is Cathy Cooke with HistoriCorps, and I'm going to talk to you today about some kitchen hygiene and the standards that we adhere to here at HistoriCorps. So it's very, very important that we adhere to these strict standards so that we prevent foodborne illnesses. Foodborne illness is a very real thing, and especially for in the backcountry, we want to avoid this at all costs so we do not create GI situations for ourselves or our volunteers. So how does foodborne illness happen? It happens from food that is not handled properly, from rodents, rodent droppings, animal contamination, leaving food out too long so it gets too cold or too hot, and so we want to prevent these at all costs. So we have a few protocols that we just want to mention briefly. When you roll up onto a project for the first time, you want to make sure you clean all of your cooking utensils. So your pots, your pans, your knives and forks, your bowls, plates, cups, everything you can, you want to clean it right off the bat. Coolers, and you want to clean it with hot soapy water and then with a bleach solution, 10-to-1 bleach solution, and you're going to let all that stuff air dry because all of these products have been sitting in a trailer or in a truck or in storage somewhere and have been collecting dust and bacteria and mold, so it all needs to be cleaned right out of the gate. Okay, in between all of your meals, you want to make sure that you keep everything well contained in a container with the lid closed properly. You cannot leave out cups and plates and utensils like you see here because rodents could come in and scurry, walk on your utensils and your plates and your cups, and then you've got a contaminated surface that you then cannot use to serve people. So all of that stuff needs to be in a bin like this with the lid closed properly, not like this, but it needs to close properly so that you have everything contained in between all meals and overnight so that you avoid any kind of contamination. Also, before and after every meal, you want to make sure to wipe down all the tables with your bleach solution, 90% water, 10% bleach, and we're going to wipe down all of our surfaces so that they are not contaminated as well. Also, you want to make sure all of your condiments, things like this, these should not be left out. They need to be put away in a container between all meals. So it's also very important not to forget the stove. The stove can get very dirty and it's often a neglected surface. So you've got all of these little crevices and dips. It needs to be cleaned out. So at the beginning of a project, I like to dump it over and get all of the debris out, and then you got to scrape it, and then you can actually use the heat from the burners to actually disinfect the stove, which makes it really okay. All right, we're gonna go through the dishwashing protocol real quick. So when we are washing dishes, we have a bin of hot soapy water, we have a bin of hot rinse water, and then we have a third bin which is cold water, which has 1 capful of bleach. And so we're obviously gonna put our dishes into the hot soapy water to clean them and then put them through the rinse, and then one last rinse through the bleach to sanitize them, and then we air dry them. Of course, you can see that it's snowing and these are not optimal conditions, but this is the reality of HistoriCorps and you may come into inclement weather. So what we want to do here is put these in the cook tent to dry so that they're not getting wet. And when we are done washing the dishes, we will have identified where we're going to put the water. So either we're going to scatter the water in a location, or we're going to dig a hole and put the water into the hole if we're in bear country or if we've got a lot of animals around. So we would take the hot soapy water and we would scatter it away from camp and away from any water sources. After we dump the hot soapy water, we put the rinse water into the first bin, and then we dump that in our location, and then lastly we pour the bleach water into the rinse bin and then into the first hot soapy bin, and we dump that in our location too, and then we turn these over and let them dry. So since it's snowing in these conditions here, we're going to take all of this stuff into the cook tent so it can dry appropriately.